Hey there, Bay Area, and welcome to ICAN Talk. This is Vivian from the International Children Assistance Network, better known as ICAN. And today we have Isabella. Isabella, you want to give our listeners a hello and introduce our topic today?
Hi, everyone, and thank you for the introduction, Vivian. As Vivian mentioned, my name is Isabella. I am one of the employees at International Children Assistance Network, or ICAN, where I am currently our lead census coordinator. And in fact, our topic today is the census and the Asian American community.
Great, so we have a few prompt questions we can answer along the way, but first off, please tell the audience what ICAN is and why ICAN has an interest in how the Asian American youth participate in the census and the community.
Yeah, thanks for the question. So ICAN is a 501c3 nonprofit. We were founded in 2000 with the goal of engaging families to help children become successful and become caring leaders in society. So overall, our programs aim at empowering parents with the confidence and skills to be their own advocates. And at the same time, we also have children's programs to help them become caring, affectionate leaders within their own communities.
Yeah, and since this was started in 2000, a lot of the kids that we helped originally are now teenagers and young adults, right? So it makes sense that now we are shifting so that we have a lot more youth programs.
That's correct, yeah. So the youth is definitely one of our target demographics, but overall ICAN is very generationally friendly. We have, young infants, youth, parents, as well as grandparents. So we really strive to foster that caring family dynamic.
Thank you so much. So to be clear, Isabella and I are both employed by ICAN. So we both know firsthand how much the older generation wants us to be part of the Vietnamese community, which brings us to our first prompt. Why should the Asian American community care about the census?
Well, first and foremost, the census it's mandatory for everyone to respond to, right? So that includes Asian Americans. I think one of the foremost misconceptions is that only citizens are required to fill out the census, but no, it's in fact literally everyone who is living in the United States during the census taking period. But yeah, more specifically, let's talk about why the Asian American community should care about it. I mean, we are a diverse, dynamic group, right? We're not a one-size-fits-all kind of a group. So I say that to avoid misleading people into thinking that, we have to fill out the census for specific XYZ reasons. But I will go into the fact that the census, it informs funding for all of our various government programs, such as Medicare, Medi-Cal, CalFresh, or food stamps, Section 8 housing, amongst other many programs, right? And within our Asian American community, I don't have the exact statistics, but we do benefit from these programs. And a lot of us might have kids, and your kids attend public schools. They need community centers, other recreation centers, and libraries to access and explore. So the census also informs funding for these various places that help us thrive as members of our community.
Yeah, and another thing to keep in mind is that the census only comes around every 10 years. So missing the count or getting inaccurate count not only affects us this year, which is pretty important already because of COVID-19, but it affects us for the next 10 years. So thinking immediate effects of how the census will affect us, we can already see that next year we're going to need a lot of economic resources. We're going to need help to help the businesses and all the other things that are happening because of COVID-19. We're going to need the census to let the government and other groups and organizations know that we have a set amount of people in this community that will need this many supplies or this many resources.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you stated it perfectly. If we don't respond to the census, it's like we're not accounted for. It's like we don't exist for the next 10 years. So yeah, definitely fill out your census. That way it informs, the government what our needs are so that they can be taken care of.
So it's true that so many Asian families don't complete it. I had to do it for my family this year too. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that so many, not just Vietnamese American, but just Asian families in general, don't want to complete the census?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So it could be many, many factors. A lot of families come from an immigrant or refugee background. So perhaps in their home countries, the government wasn't seen as like a trustworthy source, a trustworthy entity. So the fact that the census asks for like personal information might be a little bit troubling to people. And it could also be that, some Asian Americans are not legal immigrants and they're worried that their status might be used against them to deport them.
Which is completely not true. ICE can't use this information to deport you, and this information will also never ask for any legal status or anything like that.
That's correct, Vivian. Yeah, there's a lot of rumors flying around, but the truth is, the only people who can see and access this information is the U.S. Census Bureau. This information is not going to go to ICE. It's not going to go to the White House. The president's not going to see it. And even your landlord isn't going to even see it. I've heard that that's been a big concern with a lot of people who might be living in multifamily homes. They might be living in places where there's more people allowed than what's stated on the lease. So again, I just want to emphasize that when you fill out the census, your personal information is completely safe, completely secure, and confidential.
Yeah, and another thing is that I believe that they're going to start sending people out on August 11th to the houses that have not responded.
That's correct. Yeah. So starting in mid-August, I believe the date is August 11th, there's going to be what's called a non-response follow-up period, or NRFU. It's a fun word to say. But yeah, what this entails is census takers or census enumerators will be going door to door. They follow up with addresses that haven't responded to the census yet. And depending on how successful they are, they might need to follow up at the same location for about 6 times. So if there's a takeaway from this message, it's that if you want to avoid having a census taker come to your home, definitely try to self-respond, either online, by phone, or by paper form as soon as possible.
Yeah, no one wants anyone to come to their house, especially during this time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, everyone stay in your homes. Stay safe.
Yeah, and if someone does come to your home, the first thing to note is that no one should be coming to your house until mid-August, August 11th. Number 2, they should have the proper attire, meaning they should have the badge. They should have the phone with the census logo on it. Am I missing anything?
Yeah, in addition to the official census badge, they will be carrying kind of like a tote bag with the census logo on it. And they will be recording information using tablets. I've heard of some fraudulent instances where people had their information recorded on paper forms. That's a telltale sign that you're dealing with a fake census taker, because again, they're using the tablets.
Yeah, so don't give anyone your bank information, don't give anyone your social security number. They shouldn't be asking for any of that if they come to your door. And if they do, you should immediately report it. Is there a number to report it?
There is a number. I don't have it off the top of my head, but for example, in Santa Clara County, we have a census team. I think if you Google it, you'll be able to find the right number or the right email to report any fraudulent census takers.
Great. So going back to our previous topic of why families don't complete it, did you have that experience as well with your family where it was they didn't want to complete it, or it was just kind of ignored?
Luckily for my family, I took the initiative and I filled it out. But I realized that, if it weren't for me being aware of the census, then maybe our online form could, or our yeah, our response in general could have gone unnoticed, and we might have someone follow up in person. So really, I think the key issue here is awareness, right? We gotta know that like the census is going on. There's going to be different ways in which you can respond, and there's going to be different ways to follow up, and numerous ways to follow up in the event that you don't respond. As far as for other reasons why families might not be able to complete the census, for example, with households that don't have stable access to the internet, it's going to be really hard to complete it online. There's people who are just more familiar with like the paper mail, but maybe you live in a household where there's so much junk mail. You try your best to sort it, and you might have accidentally thrown out your census form. So lots of different reasons.
Yeah, I completely agree, especially the point where you're saying we need to make this an awareness. I think it's important that we remind the youth in our community why it's important to get the census done. A lot of the people that need to be doing this were just kids 10 years ago, so they might not even realize how important this is. By the time the census comes around again, they might even have their own kids.
Yeah, for sure. And the good thing nowadays is that schools are letting the kids know about the census. And speaking for my own personal experience, like a lot of the information I learned, I learned it from school, and then I was basically the messenger to deliver it to my family.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of kids and young adults are pretty much translators or messengers for their family.
Yep, been there, done that.
I definitely feel that way too, especially with topics that have to do with the government and like just getting things done. Even if I feel like my family is pretty good about getting things done on their own. I don't think I really had to translate or anything for them when I was little, because my mom speaks English fluently. But sometimes there would be things that it's just generational gap where we think it's important, but they're like, we can put it to the side.
Yeah, I resonate with that too. In my household, I would say that my family's English fluency is pretty good, but of course, there's always, there could always be gaps in your knowledge. So that's where kids come in. They might have a better understanding of like the different benefits and the different like uses for the census, and that's something we can always share with our parents.
Exactly. So we've hit all the marks of what we need to discuss today. I think the biggest takeaway from this is that the census is important, and it's important that the youth talk about why it's important, especially with their families, to make sure that they're completed. So thank you, Isabella, for joining us and talking to us about why the census is important, and where can they find more about ICAN or the census?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Vivian. So if you're looking for more information, head on over to ican2.org or our social media, such as Facebook and Instagram, at ican_Silicon Valley. And if you're looking for more information about the census, if you want to respond online, the link is my2020census.gov. But if you're just looking for general information, you can Google 2020 census and it'll take you to the website. And with that said, please, please, please complete your census. It's super fast, super easy. It took me less than 5 minutes, but it really shouldn't take longer than 10 minutes. So again, super convenient. There's multiple ways to do it.
Thank you so much. And then next week, we'll be talking about Black Lives Matter. So tune in then. Bye.
Bye, everybody.